You won't believe what's happening to Kelowna real estate right now. Prices are still down 12% from the peak, but in some categories, they've actually gone up since the start of the year. Inventory is still higher than anything we've seen in nearly a decade, and in July, that pressure finally showed up in the numbers, with prices dropping month over month in some areas. So what's really going on out there? It's a fair question, and honestly, the market feels confusing right now. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what's happening in Kelowna real estate, what it means if you're buying or selling, and where the real opportunities might be heading into the fall. Let's get into it. Starting with the number of residential sales, sales in July were up 6% year over year from what they were in 2024, and you can see that 2025 continues to outpace the sales volume that we saw last year. We're not quite at the volume that we had in 2023, but we actually sold more in July of this year than we did 2 years ago. Inventory continues to be high, and we're actually up 4.4% year over year, and you can see there's always a seasonal increase in inventory over the summer months, but still, we have more inventory this year than we had last year. Breaking the inventory down a little bit more, in July for single-family home inventory, you can see that we have more inventory than we've had most Julys over the last decade, except we're down slightly from what we had last year. There always seems to be a seasonal increase in inventory over the summer months, as is reflected here, where we see how much inventory we had over the last 3 years. In the single-family home category, we actually have fewer homes on the market than we had this time last year. Moving into townhome inventory, it did dip as well from July of 2024, but it's still higher than we've seen in most Julys over the last decade. This category too, though, has fewer homes on the market than we had in June and July of last year. Condo inventory, however, continues to increase substantially. You can see that in 2025, we have more condo inventory than we've had in the month of July for any month over the last decade. And if we look at this inventory on a month-by-month basis over the last 3 years, 2025 has significantly more condo inventory than we've ever had. This is presenting a great opportunity for buyers or first-time buyers that want to get into the market because they have a lot of choices. And taking a look at the composite benchmark price, this is a benchmark price of all of the asset classes rolled together, and it gives us an idea of, in general, what the market's doing. In July, that composite benchmark price came in at $792,000. That's down 12% from the market peak, which we saw in the spring of 2022, where the benchmark composite price was just over $900,000. It is up, however, $40,000 roughly from where we were last October. If we've never met before, I'm Tyrell Boake, a realtor in Kelowna, and on this channel, I break down what's actually happening in the market so you can make smart moves, whether you're buying, selling, or just keeping an eye on things. If you want to stay in the loop on all things Kelowna real estate, go ahead and hit subscribe. And when you're ready to talk about your own plans, there's a link in the description to book a call with me at a time that works best for you. Starting with the benchmark price of a single-family detached home, in July that came in at $1,045,000. This is down 2.1% from what we saw in June, where that price was $1,067,000. Year over year, though, that number is up 1.9% from the $1,025,000 we saw last July. Looking at that benchmark price over the last 3 years, we are down 11.5% from the market peak price, which was $1.18 million, but over the last 8 months, that price has steadily increased since October. However, we did see a decline from June to July. Overall, though, in the last year, this price has been trending upward, and it's something to keep an eye on as we move into the fall. Looking at the last decade, single-family detached home prices in the Okanagan have doubled since 2015. We're also 3 years removed from that market peak price, and there has been some stability in this price over the last 2 years. Moving on to the benchmark price of a townhome, it came in 1.6% higher in July than it was in June and came in at $724,000. Going out year over year, though, that price is down 7% from where we were last July. Looking at the last 3 years of the benchmark price graph, we are down 13% from the market peak, which was $837,000. We did have a couple of months of declines recently, but that price rebounded a little bit in July. This is a pretty volatile segment of the market, and it's hard to see, even from the last 3 years, what it's going to do month to month. It is down 13% though, as I mentioned. Out over the last decade, it has gone up 75% from where it was in 2015, but this market does show a lot of volatility. Moving on to the condo price, with all that excess inventory, you would expect prices to come down, and they have come down 2.3% month over month, coming in at $504,000 in July. However, that price is up from where it was year over year. Looking at the benchmark price graph, condo prices are down 9% from where they were at the market peak, and you can see on the right there that it has come down in the last month. The benchmark price of condos did have a sharp increase as we started 2025, but in general, throughout this year, it has been declining. There was a couple months of a rebound, but in general, that price is coming down from where it was to start the year. But if we go out over the last decade, condo prices have more than doubled in the last 10 years. Moving on to the price ratio, this is the ratio that a home eventually sells for based on what the last listing price was. In the single-family detached home segment of the market, this number has actually increased. So the discount that a buyer can expect from the list price has started to increase. Last month it was around 97.5%, and now we're at 96%. Townhomes had a bit of a sideways move, and they're about 98% in the price ratio. And the gap in the condo market from the list price to the eventual selling price has also increased, and we're sitting at a price ratio of 96.6% in the condo segment. Moving on to months of inventory, we are still in a buyer's market in the single-family detached home segment of the market with nearly 8 months of available inventory. This is up slightly from the previous month. What this generally means is that for every 8 homes that are listed on the market, there's 1 active buyer. And in the townhome market, the months of inventory increased slightly as well, but it's roughly the same as it was the previous month, and we're still in a buyer's market. And in the condo market, we actually had the months of inventory come down from 10.4 months to 8.3 months, but this segment being in a buyer's market is being reflected in those decrease in prices. So just to recap the months of inventory, we are firmly in a buyer's market across the board with around 8 months of available inventory in each asset class. So inventory is high, and it's putting some pressure on prices in certain areas. But this isn't an all-out crash. We've been in this buyer's market for well over a year, and it hasn't caused prices to tank or crash. We're still seeing well-priced homes sell, and for buyers, the amount of choice right now creates some real opportunity. I recently had a buyer that chose about 12 homes that were within their price range in a neighborhood they wanted to live in. We looked at all of them, and they narrowed their choices down to 2 homes. Unfortunately, the one home the seller wasn't willing to negotiate or be realistic where the price is, so the buyer just moved on to the other one that still checked all their boxes and got an accepted offer, and they're super happy with where they're going to live. So if you're looking to buy in this market, there are a lot of opportunities for you right now. So for sellers, the key is having a smart pricing strategy that reflects the reality. There's roughly 1 buyer for every 8 or 9 homes that are listed on the market. If you want help figuring out where your plans fit into this shifting market, I'd be happy to talk you through it. And if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons if you found this helpful. And if you're ready to talk about your next move, there's a link in the description to book a call with me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.